Hello and welcome to I Still Call It a Lariat, a pro wrestling podcast where our mission statement is to bring sexy back to the wrestling podcast world. We're doing it one episode at a time, and we are succeeding every week. I don't know about you guys, but I'm doing it. This week on the show, we are going to break down what is going on with TNA a little bit. We're going to look at the Joe Swerve Hangman segment and the Bucks and Darby segment. Of course, WWE news, and unfortunately, Vince McMahon has done what I did not want him to do. I have to talk about him now. We're going to do it very shortly, and I hate him for it. Along with me this week, as always, are my panel of co-hosts, coming to you directly from the Showtime Chateau in beautiful New Jersey, Mr. Showtime, Michael Wright. How you doing today, Mike?
Oh, living the dream as always, Stephen.
And also with us, coming from us, emanating, if you will, from the Scarps Shanty, S. Scarps Esquire.
Well, you know, it's unfortunate that I live in a shanty, but that's okay. What's up, country? Hello, world.
How you doing, guys? How you doing? How is everyone feeling today? Pretty excited about this show, I gotta say.
Listen, I think we're going to attack this podcast with new energy. We kind of felt around last week. I think today's going to be even better. It's going to be more fun, and it's going to be super informative. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. And I think we have some cool stuff to talk about today. Some really good things, including an awesome Raw.
Hell yeah. I'm in, guys. Let's kick this pig, reeling from the feeling. All right, so first things first, I'm going to get this this Ashley Massaro crap out of the way. So Ashley Massaro has been one of the people that was trying to send allegations about Vince McMahon, about the WWE. I was trying to not talk about it as much, but we do have to touch on it a little bit. So we are coming to find out that not only did executives know about it, but also Stephanie McMahon might be involved. They basically used her as a sense of woman power before going into a board meeting filled with executives, and she essentially pushed her in the door by herself. My whole thing with this is, unfortunately, the more and more of this that comes out, the stink just will not get off Vince. Every bit of his legacy, every bit of good that he did, it's almost just like we're not going to be able to acknowledge the fact that he did what he did the good that he did for this business that we love, or else we wouldn't be making this podcast. And it hurts. It hurts that I can't look at anything that he's done well now, because just more and more and more trash is getting piled on. So with that said, that is all I want to talk about that. I know we're going to have a fun show now. Honestly, guys, let's go right into TNA news. I'm a big believer that TNA is finally starting to give us a program that is kind of worth watching. The main segment that I brought in was the Joe Hendry, AJ Francis. For our fans who do not know who AJ Francis is, that doesn't surprise me. He was Top Dollar in the WWE, or as you may know him, Flop Dollar. Now, we all have kind of differing opinions on this one. I know a little bit more of the background here and why that was as funny to me as it was. But Mr. Showtime, why don't you take the lead on this? How did you feel on this one a little bit?
I really liked it. I thought it brought in a lot of humor. Give me a parody song and hanging out on a boat with my friend Steve, and I'm always in on that one. So I thought it was hysterical. Him having Hendry having the song kind of locked and loaded, ready to go. Obviously, that was, you could say he's overly prepared, of course. But at the end of the day, I thought it was hysterical. It had me laughing.
So listen, man, I mean, I feel like you're just so out of left field on this one, because when Steve sent me this clip, I was like, okay, what am I watching? And I had a few to watch. I load this one up, 15, 20 seconds in. I'm like, what the hell did I just do with my life? I'm not getting that time back. And so I went to the next segment that we were going to prep for the show. So I literally, outside of what the hell was I looking at, I have nothing to say about it.
That's fair. That's fair. So part of the reason why the video was as funny as it was for me is because for AJ Francis's time in WWE, he went to do a dive, and there's a reason why 300 something pound men don't dive over the top rope when they shouldn't. And it's because he literally, it looked like he had like a leg cramp in the middle of his run, and he hit right on his big fat stomach and then flipped over. And I think his Jordan or something hit the guy that he was trying to dive on. It's to the point where on WWE television, both the superstars and the commentary team actually started referring to him as Flop Dollar. This was not just us saying it on the podcast world. It was not just fans calling him that on social media. No, everyone in the world called him Flop Dollar. And the funniest part about it was after he did it, he stood up like he was the Rock. Like he was like, yeah, everyone loved this. No, and no one loved it. No one loved anything about it. I've been watching Joe Hendry a little bit ever since he kind of got to TNA. I knew a little bit about him from Ring of Honor. He was always kind of making waves like this. And the fact that his lines in this were like, oh, that didn't feel good. Is that what I've been doing to people? It was so obvious that like it wasn't sincere, but like just being a bit of a dick about it. And I was like, this is, I popped for it. I really did go over big on that one, which kind of segues a little bit into, well, we're finally getting a product that we can enjoy from TNA. And the guy who kind of gave us this product is gone. I've heard, I've seen a bunch of things on social media. I've seen a bunch of things through different wrestling websites that the boys in the back, the actual talent, want Scott D'Amore back. And I see that's kind of one of those, like, why would you get rid of a coach that the players want to play for type situation in my mind. I see no reason why they wouldn't try to bring him back other than you kind of humiliated him a little bit by getting rid of him. And maybe they can't pay him enough at this point.
Well, I was just going to say at that point, money talks. I mean, you check your pride at the door, or you say, you know what, my pride is worth at least this much. You bump that dollar sign up. That's what you have to do.
I'm obviously, we don't know Scott or anything like that, but having the boys in the back come out and say that we want him back, that could be enough to bring him to the fold. He's already been putting himself into all of the work that's gone into Impact, into TNA, and to kind of finish that out, finish his story even, allows, like, I could see that being a good enough draw where it's like senior management doesn't really know what they're doing, and I'm sure they have a certain acumen on what they're doing, but hearing all the boys can show them that they made a mistake, bring Scott back, let him do his, give him that creative control that maybe he has more of a leash than he did beforehand, and it turns into a net positive. We've been talking a lot about the product is starting to elevate, and there is an opportunity for them to catch up to AEW here with some of these segments and some of the wrestling that are coming in, signing Dolph, trying to get a couple more people, some bigger talent into this mix, I think could really elevate this to start nipping at AEW's heels. So you kind of have to listen to the people who are the closest to the product, seeing those waves, and I hope they do the right thing.
Yeah, definitely. And to go along with how the product is being elevated, I feel like they have a good blend of young talent that both wants to learn and can work, along with veterans who can also work. Guys like Frankie Kazarian. I know me and Mr. Showtime over here go pretty far back with Mr. Kaz, if you will. He that man was at least 5 or 6 years older than us 20 years ago, so he's got to be close to his 50s by now, and he just won't age. He's still putting on the exact same matches that he was when 21 years ago, which is insane to me.
That's impressive for sure.
Yeah, like he aside from cutting his hair and everything and making it short, he still looks like Antonio Banderas from Desperado.
Almost spit out my drink with that reference. So solid.
Good. That's what
saved
we need.
it. Saved it. We're close. We're back.
I'm shooting for the nose, really.
But stay tuned, folks.
But realistically, I think, like you said, Mike, I think the product is absolutely elevating. I think this is a good time that they can capitalize on this. They can do something where we start watching TNA again. I think honestly the best thing is if they can get access on other on other television networks, because that's the problem is Access is a station that seems to be only on DirecTV, and
No, I have it on Verizon.
Do you have it on Verizon? Okay, I know it wasn't on Spectrum, and I don't know if it's on actual like Comcast, like normal cable situation. So we were, I know just limiting yourself like that makes it very hard to watch the product. So like,
but
I know even
ratings speak for themselves though. So if they bring in a better product, they start getting better ratings on their current network. That
they might get moved over to a different network altogether, which I think that would work, except for I think Access is directly tied into who owns them, because I believe Anthem is the company that owns them, and they also own Access.
Yeah, I'm not sure who owns Access. I know Anthem has a big part of TNA, so I don't know. That's worth looking into and reporting back next week.
Definitely, that's something that I'll definitely look into. All of us can look into that, and I think that'll be one of those things that we talk about next week and really report on. As far as TNA goes, I think it's time that we start really getting back into the world of TNA. Did we lose Scarps?
Just keep going.
Fair enough. Okay. Next thing, let's move on to AEW news, guys. We're gonna have I think let's start with the Joe Swerve Hangman segment. Showtime, does this pique your interest for the world titles match?
Well, I thought it was interesting. I was kind of surprised on how over Joe was when he came out. And then Swerve came out and he was way more over. Hangman was way over as the heel in the match. And then by the end of that segment, it felt like the match was really between Hangman and Swerve, and Joe was the third wheel, but he happens to be the world champion. I think that I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. Like, if you're listening to the fans, that means that Joe's going to lose. If you're not, Joe goes over, which is fine. I just hate the idea of if Joe loses after some of the comments he made, and he doesn't get pinned, like if he loses the title without getting pinned, I think that'll just cause us to have another triple threat here, like a redo. And that just kind of feels like it'll fall flat. So, at the outcome of this, I hope either Joe wins, and then he moves on to his next bit of competition, or whoever wins pins Joe. And then you can kind of go into a real Hangman Swerve feud. That seems like that's what they're setting up. I don't know. They both look like they turned their back on him.
Yeah, I definitely saw that, and I think that I think it's a lot. I think part of it is that Joe always cuts a pretty good promo. That's always kind of been a thing that he does. I think, like you've mentioned this in the past, that he kind of cuts that hard-nosed heel tough guy promo, which I think works for him. I also always liked that he doesn't yell unless he has to. Like he has the cadence in his voice where he sounds like a tough guy, and then when he yells, he sounds like a monster. So I've always liked that about Joe. I think, unfortunately, there's a very good chance that he's going to be losing this title. I don't know if he was ever really supposed to get it. I think the plan was to keep it on MJF probably a little longer, but then he got hurt. The other side of that is, I think that there's a little bit of confusion, and that's kind of where I wanted to bring you boys into this. And that was, do you who do you think was the babyface in this whole situation?
Well, so as you know, like I'm getting back into wrestling now, so I don't have a ton of background when it comes to AEW or TNA. Much more on the WWE side of things. I followed that a bit more, but as I get back into this, I gauge it based on fan reaction, right? So the way I saw that, I thought Joe was the face to start with, like his. You kind of said that he cuts a heel promo. I don't think he does that, but like he kind of has that tweener persona where it could be a face, could be a heel. He talks about how badass he is. So like I looked at Joe kind of as the tweener champion. I thought Swerve, like the fans were hot for him. They absolutely loved him as he came out. So he was clearly the face, and they were all over Hangman. So he seemed like the clear cut heel, not having any real background before that.
See,
Now,
the irony for me is like you guys know I'm a fan of Joe. I always have been. So like, when you guys went over this the other day with me, I was like, oh well, clearly, or earlier I should say, I was like Samoa Joe, just because I can say it, and that was really where I stood firm, man. And well,
so that's going to be where I'm at, guys. So how shocking is it that Swerve is the heel in this? Swerve Strickland is the heel. You've got an entire arenas shouting, "Whose house? Swerve's house." Heel. Hangman Page, supposed to be the babyface. Joe, I can see him being the tweener. I see him just being a hard nose. It's hard to warm up to that idea, but technically, if we were talking about who's supposed to be who in this, Swerve is the heel. And also, can we talk about how amazing Prince Nana's dance is? Because Nana's dance has gotten way more over than anything else in AEW at this point. To go along with that, I do think that they need to work on this confusion amongst who they have. As far as I feel like they just double down on Swerve being a heel, and they double down on Hangman being a face. And I think part of the problem with that goes along with what we will be reporting more on, and that's the fact that Hangman is besties with Kenny Omega and the Bucks, and I think that gives you way too much of Tony's ear right now. And Tony needs to be the boss in this situation, and he just keeps proving that that's not what he wants to do. He wants to own this. He wants to collect his action figures, but he doesn't actually want to run things. He just wants to just clean his hands of the whole situation. Which
why don't you tell us how you really feel, bud? Because this is now what? This is the second week I'm involved. I'm hearing his name come up again. You have got such a passion for this man. Just air it out, bud.
He just doesn't. When you win things like Booker of the Year for no reason, because I don't see any booking happening. Booking a match is not booking. He's not booking angles. He's not. AEW in general, that's why TNA, like we just said, TNA has the opportunity to catch up and be the number 2 promotion at this point. The amount of money that's being poured into TNA as opposed to the amount of money that's being poured into AEW, this should be a clear-cut fight between WWE and AEW. And they've essentially lost it for themselves.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lack of storyline through AEW right now. Like there really isn't much of one, and we'll get a little bit into that into the next portion of it. But like even like we should be talking about Adam Copeland and Christian Cage. Like that should be huge, and it just kind of is kind of flat right now. Some of the things that they're doing, so like it just doesn't make sense when it comes to this one. The fans will do what the fans will do. Like it's not odd for the fans to pop for a heel. That's how The Rock got over back in the day. Like they shoved him down their throat. He absolutely was hated by the fans. He went heel. He was such a good heel that people fell in love with him. So I'm never opposed to that kind of route. even if like you just have to have a payoff here, right? Like so, Hangman can still be a face while the fans boo him until he breaks, until it's just too much for him to handle, and then he goes the heel route, and then they'll love every second of it. So it's just being wise to the storylines that people want to hear. This is a perfect spot to put them in. Like the worst case scenario in this, based on the way you just set that up, Steve, is for Hangman to walk out the champion, right? He walks out the champion as he's the face being booed. Everyone's going to hate that decision. Like like no one seemed like they'd be upset if Joe retained. It looks like they'd absolutely go nuts if Swerve won. And then, like I said before, if Swerve pins Hangman, I think the fans may love that, but it might just make it messy for a rematch with Joe if it just kind of falls flat for me.
I think the other problem with if Swerve pins Hangman at this point, they've had 2 matches, I think, in their feud. It's either 2 or 3. I think they're going on to this is their 3rd match. Swerve's won both of them. There's no reason to keep this match going. I'm sorry. They've had 3 matches. The 3rd one was the championship qualifier last week. It went to a draw. The other side of that is I feel like I'm giving hope here. I'm going to give hope that AEW is going to listen to the fans and do what they should do here. And Hangman did the heel thing last week. He wouldn't give Swerve the extra 5 minutes to win the match. That's the heel thing to do. Mm-hmm. The babyface wants to win cleanly. He wants that match. He wants the extra 5 minutes. He wants to be able to beat up the guy that broke into his house, because Swerve broke into his house.
But
I just want to
point that out. Swerve's house.
It is, yeah. No, not Swerve's house. Well, it might be Swerve's house now, because he broke into Hangman's actual house in the storyline. Yes. That's the thing. He stole his lease, signed it. That's it. That's his mortgage now.
Hey, let's not bring pen and ink, ink and paper. We don't want that.
Oh, man. To go into the next part of this, though, guys, because I don't think they're going to change anything. I think they're going to keep doing what they're doing with those 2 or with those 3. I think that I honestly wouldn't be surprised. And like you said, Mike, I think there's actually a really good chance that they're going to put the title on Hangman, and it's going to fall on a flat crowd. I don't even think he's going to get booed. I think the match is going to get booed if it happens. I don't think it's going to be towards Hangman. I think Hangman is getting go home heat now. We don't want you there. We don't want to boo you. We just don't want to see you anymore. You were a vanilla babyface, and now you're a vanilla heel. Like there's nothing to you. And coming from someone who spent the majority of his career as a vanilla babyface, I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, but if you can come out and be the actual heel, be the establishment heel, I mean, we've seen it successful in the past. It could be really successful. You just have to pivot and get him out of that. Like have him cheat to win and go and like join up with the Young Bucks and kind of force this heel Swerve across the board, like they have. Like they're the new rendition of the NWO, but admit that they're playing the politics in the back to be where they're at now. That could go over if you do it right, but I'm not all that confident that they will.
Well, boys, there's an old adage, and I'm going to switch it around a little bit. Time wounds all heals.
Definitely.
Yep. I totally understand that. Kind of how you said if he was to join up with the Bucks, I think that's the right way to bring up the Bucks and Darby segment on AEW. I didn't hate it. I liked the passion from Darby, as far as what Darby was saying, at least. I liked the passion from him. I liked what he was about in it. I hate the Bucks. That's what the Young Bucks think that executive vice presidents are supposed to look like. Like, I'm just saying, like, Triple H comes off, you see Triple H, you expect that you believe he's an executive. Even when The Rock comes out, you believe he could be an executive. These guys, they have to tell you that they're executive vice presidents. I don't buy it. I don't believe it. And them, we talked about this before the show, and I'll use your guys' exact words. Even the blood that's stained on their suits does not look like blood. It looks like either poop or fake tanner.
So they actually really look like early 2000s, like they could pass for like crappy, risque film stars.
Yeah, no, yeah, I totally see that one. Yeah, and not good triple X stars, like these like this is
like the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, like you went to the strip club on Tuesday night.
I don't know what that's like, so I'm going to take your word for it, bud.
You're a liar.
I've never been to one. Scout's honor. I was never a scout. It's fine.
So my question is, both of you guys are up to date on this segment at least. What did you guys think of it? Scarps, I'm going to go with you on this one first because we led a little bit on Michael on the last one. Let's go with you on this one. I want to know what you feel about the segment in its entirety.
Okay, so I mean we're talking about the Young Bucks right now.
The Young Bucks and the Darby Allin segment. It's all just one segment. So
yeah,
break it down however you want to for us.
So I'm watching the match, right? Or at least the short, let's say the tail end of the match. And as far as the action of the match went, I kind of enjoyed it.
Okay.
It was a little bit, let's say, clownish. But clownish in a good way because it was meant to be. You know what I mean? And then I got a little bit confused for a second though. So after the match is over, Darby runs out, and I mean I enjoyed it. It was entertaining. I was really glued into the TV. I was watching it, but I was just slightly confused because at this point I'm thinking like, okay, this is awesome, dude. We're going to Greensboro like in a couple of weeks, right? But now what am I excited for? Am I excited for Sting? Am I excited for a tag match? Am I like what was the point of him coming out to put on that display? You know what I mean? I was just it threw me off.
Yeah, actually, that captures my sentiment exactly. This was a big old nothing burger for me. The match, I'm with you. The match was great. The end of the match, I enjoyed it. I love good tag team match. I would have loved to see them take out Tony because I never would have expected it. So that one I was like, oh, do it. You won't do it. Come on. Oh, you got nothing. But at the end of the day, this is Sting's final match. And that's what we're building toward, right? And they're building up a feud for Sting's final match without Sting. Not really talking about Sting. Well, I mean, Darby talks about like, what are you in this for? Is it for Sting? But like, even he's, I'm starting to lose favor with if he's there for Sting in this match. That's what the draw is here. There's no real storyline. I don't understand why this is the match that Sting's going to go out on. So this segment wasn't all that entertaining for me. I think they're just wasting a really good opportunity to let Sting go his own way. I actually hope at the end of the day, Sting decides to stay. So they can redo his final match.
Wow.
Because and do it right. Like I want to remake the movie Kazam and I want to get it right. Because I think that is that's the way that I'd rather see it. Because I don't know. Like I'm not excited for Sting's final match based on that because it's not about Sting. It's about the Young Bucks abusing their power and the spray tan that's all over them. I know. It's
what if Sinbad comes out because you want to remake Kazam?
Oh, yeah, that's Kazam.
Well, Shazam. Kazam was with Shaq, but
Shazam. That's different.
Sinbad shows up. It's like let's go.
Shazam was a perfect movie, and if you haven't seen it, that's on you. It's
shame on you guys because I loved it.
So Mike, you're a little bit more involved in this one than Scarps would be. It felt to me almost like Darby kind of went into business for himself on that one. And like you said, it causes I don't care about this match as far as Sting goes anymore because all that they're promoting is the Bucks, which that's not what this should be promoting. This should be promoting and celebrating Sting. Sting is the guy who filled your arena. Sting is the guy who sold out your tickets. Sting is the guy who we've all watched, and the reason why we're going to Greensboro is to celebrate Sting. Look, if I'm not saying he's definitely on my Mount Rushmore, but it'd be a hard argument not to put him on my Mount Rushmore. He's every bit the star, the icon, the legend that we've said he is at this point. And I feel like they've steered away from him way too much. And even Darby's promo, once he finally got it out, I don't know what he said in the first sentence because it sounded like he was chewing on toilet paper.
A little bit.
But then when he finally got out mission statement and that they were going to change the world, once he got to that point, it would have been cool. It was cool. It's cool to tell the truth, and it's cool to do that to a point. And the point that he shouldn't have gotten to was the moment he said Cody. Or he didn't say Cody, but the moment he basically alluded to Cody. He did something where on your television program, on your flagship program, I believe it was at this point, you made sure that on the only network that shows you on your main show, they were cheering for the biggest babyface in the other company, the guy who's headlining WrestleMania. You guys have once again effectively killed your own business in a way, shape, or form. WWE doesn't bring up AEW. The most they'll do is, I've heard McAfee call Dean Ambrose John Moxley now. That's about the extent of it. They've brought up AEW in the sense that when Cody was on the Broken Skull sessions with Stone Cold, he said, well, what about this? Or when they've done something very in-depth on Cody, they've said something about it. But they leave it very, we don't care about the other side of the company or the other company. We don't care that there are other companies. It doesn't matter to us. It's like the NFL acknowledging the CFL at this point. You just don't do it.
Maybe Darby transcended, right? Maybe he's now bigger than wrestling in its entirety. And he's looking down on it from a step back. So now he's naming everybody. He's name dropping. Maybe he's, like you said, maybe he's now working for himself and he's working on the next step. Who knows? Big no for professionalism.
To be fair, I don't think it's that big of a deal. First off, with he shouldn't have leaned towards Cody and kind of acknowledged that it's always been like the sense of the business to kind of ignore the competition for the most part. Though what I think that what Darby had to do was he was carrying a tag team segment, something that's supposed to be celebrating Sting, on his back with no Sting there. So he had no partner. He had no one to go toe-to-toe with the Young Bucks with. He did scare them away. The only part of Sting he had was his back. So at the end of the day, Sting being there, actually, the person who should have saved Shivani was Sting. Like, I would love to see him drop from the rafters. Not that they're going to do that at this point in time, but
never,
on that kind of show.
Again.
I get it, but like having that flash of nostalgia, have him come up from under the ring, something way safer, just like an homage to like the career that you're celebrating. Sting's not going to be at every event. I get that, but so to be fair to Darby, I don't think he was kind of carrying the whole thing on his own back. It may have come off a little bit self-serving, but he was the one there to do the serving. So
I'm gonna feed it to you this way, because part of why this happened is, again, it's supposed to be Sting's blood that's on the Bucks. They beat the hell out of him last week, and that's supposed to be the reason why Sting's not there. A couple things happened on the segment where Sting got beat down that I'm not overly thrilled about. One, it was right after they won the tag team titles. They won the tag team titles, and before they can even fully celebrate it, the Bucks hit the ring, beat the crap out of them, and then also beat the crap out of Sting's sons. I don't like that. And I don't like it for a couple reasons. First of all, they're not in the wrestling business. I know they are athletes. I know they play football and baseball and probably everything else that Sting has ever played in his life as well. The other side of this is they were towering over the Bucks. So the grown men in the room looked smaller than the kids that they're beating up.
Yeah.
Suspension of disbelief. Well, it's hard for me to suspend disbelief when the kids that you're beating up are 6'1" and you're 5'10" and you look like male, or you look like grown up adolescents. So I'm going to let you guys hear how I might have written it a little bit. I think this would have, this kind of goes along with what Showtime was just saying. And I think this kind of runs the right way. Even if they had beaten up Sting and they're about to hit Shivani with the knee and Darby comes out and saves him. Maybe have Darby still do the same type of promo. Who knows? I think the better option, instead of alluding to Cody, would have been to allude to Tony. I think saying that Tony hired him, that Tony was the smart one, it gives the company a little bit more credibility than, well, the guy who's not here anymore is the one who had faith in me. And the other guy who's not here anymore that you pushed out the door wanted to have his first match with me. Talking about CM Punk. Like, it's like everyone that's given Darby some type of credibility is working across the street now. If he said Tony Khan, it would have been a better option, I think. I think it would have given him a lot more credibility, the company a lot more credibility. Now then, the last part of this is what you said, Showtime, is have him do the old Sting angle, have Sting do the old Sting angle. Well, what if Darby clears the ring, and while he's clearing the ring or while he's cutting the promo, you have the Bucks still yelling in the background, no, we took him out. It doesn't matter. We're going to win the tag team titles. Sting, there's no way Sting's even going to make it to Revolution. You know, normal heel, I'm yelling at the guys. We're the bosses. We'll fire him if we want. And then Darby just takes the bat and points to the rafters. And the spotlight hits. And there's Sting standing WCW style up in the rafters.
But I just want Sting in that. I want Sting in that conversation. So I would pop for that.
That's what I'm saying. I think that gives us the nostalgia, along with giving Darby the chance to kind of carry this the way he has to, and then make the heels look like swarmy cheaters, right? Like, that's what we want. We want them to be, they look like they're cowards. They look like they want you. We should want to punch them in the face. They're giving us, they are halfway giving us all that.
Yeah, I mean, they really are giving us all of that when you think about it, right? Because
the
like
only
I said,
thing that
just
they're
watching
not,
it.
Yeah, the only thing that they're not giving us that we want is Sting.
Yeah.
And it's and that's the thing we want the most right now. If he's not going to be here for in 2 more weeks, if he's done in 2 more weeks, I want as much Sting as I can possibly have. I want Sting. I want all day Sting. I want Surfer Sting. I want Crow Sting. I want Red and Black Sting. I don't care if he's wearing orange at this point. I want schizophrenic Sting from TNA for a little bit.
What about Sting from the
Joker
Police?
Sting. I'll take Sting from the Police if he's with wrestler Sting as well.
I'm just saying.
It is a good Sting. It's like if they start singing Message in a Bottle together, I'm in. But
well, hey, here's hoping those other boys send out an SOS, you know?
But I think, to go along with your guys' points, they kind of they're killing their own business. They're not doing the best business they can do, and all they're doing is costing themselves money. All of them. They're costing all of them money. Like, you know, the only one who's not going to worry about this is after March 3rd, Sting, because he's done. He's out. Nothing else matters at that point.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. I want to believe that he'll hold true to it. Unless, and here's the other thing: is there any world that we believe that the Bucks don't win this tag title match?
Well, I mean, if Sting's done, no. Like they have to win it, right? You have to hand off. Like you're not gonna like who's gonna be Darby's partner? Who's gonna come in and fill that spot if Sting stays around? Like if Sting is actually done,
Or
you have to vacate the title.
Or do they vacate it and have one of the tournaments that AEW loves to have so much?
It'd be fun. I mean, you know me, I'm a sucker for a good tournament. So I would love to see something along those lines. You know, what might even end up happening is have Sting retire, have them vacate the titles, and then have the Young Bucks award it to themselves. Because if I didn't make it clear enough last time, if I was in that position, I'd give myself the titles.
Yeah.
So that could be a fun way to keep that heel heat on, kind of do it a little bit, like keep going down that route. But I think the Young Bucks win this.
You know, even if let's say Sting and Darby do, and then Sting gets hurt, right? The match is over. It's his retirement match. He's done. But the Young Bucks injure him. He gets hurt. They have to vacate the title because he's retired anyway. Now he's hurt. And then they award it to himself. Something super heelish, you know?
My last question for this is, we're pretty much all in the assumption that the Young Bucks are going to win this tag title match. How flat is the crowd going to hit if what I just said happens, though? The Bucks win the tag title match, and Hangman wins the world title match.
So I'm going to tell you what I'll do in the arena, right? In the stands. I'm going to yell "Boo Earns" as loud as I can.
I mean, no offense, guys. I just looked at your faces even when I just said it, and both of your faces dropped. So that's what I'm saying is we're here and we're partially involved in the business. Like, you know, we're supposed to be the people who are smart enough to see this coming, and all we could do was hang our heads when I said it. I think it's almost like kind of how you said, if should that happen, TNA needs to run towards the finish line, because they like sprint towards whatever finish line they're trying to get to, because that is their golden opportunity to take back that number 2 spot. Like I said, guys, I think that's I think that's as much time as and effort as we can possibly put into AEW at this point, just because I
think
don't
that's
see
what the network's saying right now too.
Yeah, I think they're playing us off right now. So let's let's go back to the A show. Let's go back to the WWE. It is Mania season. I know we did not all manage to watch as much of Raw as we should have. I know Mr. Showtime over here did his due diligence and watched all of it.
I suck.
I will say this: we do know who are going to be the participants in the Elimination Chamber, both Elimination Chamber matches. My one thing that I want to say about WWE during WrestleMania season, they give us good wrestling. It's the one time of the year that they guarantee, like all the way through leading into WrestleMania, they make sure they give us decent matches at least. They might not be 5-star matches, but they're good. They're good, and they make me remember that I still love watching wrestling. But also, they have to build up certain storylines, so we get the top level storylines on that as well. Let's see, who do we have for the men's Elimination Chamber match? We have Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, Bobby Lashley, LA Knight, Kevin Owens, and Logan Paul, the United States champion. We all kind of have predictions on this. You know what, Esquire, why don't we hit you first on this one, and we'll get your prediction for this match first and see where you think they're going to come out on this.
So I appreciate you guys giving me the lead on this one, because this one was really hard for me, man. Like, in my heart and in my brain, everything says Drew McIntyre, right? Like that's what my everything says. But then I'm like, considering who I am and just what I've watched with wrestling over the years and things like that, man, for whatever reason, dude, Randy Orton is just, he's kind of a wild child. You feel me? And I feel like there might be a possibility during this match for him to just overtake everybody. And I mean, that having said that, I mean, you got to talk about, there are some gigantic wrestlers in this match. I mean, larger than life in name and stature. But I'm going to give it to Orton. And I think it's going to be Orton and McIntyre as the last two in the ring.
Okay.
We are the exact opposite, but the same final two people, right? I think it's McIntyre over Orton for all the reasons you just said, right? I think he's the one that puts McIntyre over the best to be the final two. I wouldn't be surprised if Orton starts the match or McIntyre starts the match. I don't think both of them start the match. I think only one of them do. So I can kind of see that. That's the reason why I do think those are the final two in this match. I think Orton just brings that gravitas. Like if Drew pins him, he seems really legitimate. At the end of the day, I don't think anyone in this match has more going for him than McIntyre. I think he is just an absolute fire. I think him going over is just the obvious thing. I think him Rollins at Mania is what people want to see. I think you said last week, Steven, that this is WrestleMania is the one time of the year that WWE gives us what we want. So I think that's where it is. I think there's a lot of cool storylines that come out of this one. I think that you'll end up seeing Kevin Owens pin Logan Paul or tap him, whatever it ends up being, in order to set up the U.S. title match at Mania between the two of them, given that Logan Paul just beat Kevin Owens for it. So I think that they're going to actually play a little bit more like, how do we use the Elimination Chamber to set up Mania? Not just for the person who wins it, which is obvious, but with some of the other players in here. Though I think that you can make an argument for literally anyone winning this. Like if Bobby Lashley ends up coming out on top, would I be happy? Not necessarily. I think he's great, and I think he had a really good qualifying match. But that's not who I want to see. I want to see Drew McIntyre win this. I want to see him take the Fed by storm. You guys didn't go through Raw, but he won his match over Cody on this one with Solo and Uso coming in and helping screw Cody over. The same way that he's been complaining time and time again on how the bloodline has cost him matches. So I think, and instead of fighting them off, he took the win like he should, and hit the Claymore and took the pin going into Elimination Chamber. I think that he has the right mindset. I think that he's going to go in there and not absolutely dominate, because everyone's going to have their time to shine. But he's going to be the one that walks out.
Okay, so I'm going to be the deciding factor here. I'm siding with Mr. Showtime. I do think Drew takes it. The one thing, I agree with you. I think Drew starts off the Elimination Chamber. I think Orton is the last guy in there. I think he's the last one to come in. I will disagree with you on one thing, though. I don't think that I don't think they let Owens beat Logan Paul. I think if they're not going to give us the swerve win that will still also make the fans happy, and that's LA Knight, I think they let LA Knight take the win over Logan Paul and then immediately get up into like a Claymore or something like that. I think that would set up LA Knight for the US title match. I think we would get phenomenal promos out of it. And that's if the rumors are true and we're having LA Knight go into WrestleMania going after the US title. I think we'd get a really good match out of it as well. But I think the promos leading up to it would talk people into the building. I think that's where we'd be at.
The one thing, so, based on what I'm hearing out there, I think that the WWE is spreading misinformation. They've had some problem with leakers recently. And I think that they're actually throwing out bad stories to throw people off on the internet. So like them saying that there's a chance that LA Knight is going after the US title, that's the exact kind of story I'm looking for to say, I think that is false news. And looking to, so not to say you're wrong, Steve. I think that the sentiment's correct, right? The person who beats Logan Paul is going to be the one who faces him at Mania, regardless who it is. But at the end of the day, I think the WWE, rightfully so, and I absolutely love the spreading of misinformation this way, like is leaking stories on purpose in order to throw the scent off of people on what's going to actually happen to keep it a surprise. So whenever you hear some of these stories, expect it to be false.
Well, much like the WWE, I too struggled with leakers when I was about a toddler or so.
Oh,
I mean, and by toddler, he means like last week.
It was literally last week, guys. It's fine. Here I am.
Also, if they are leaking misinformation, can we also go back to Papa H is kind of a genius in this situation, or whoever is doing the idea to have this happen, like to be on this level of, because there's no such thing as real dirt sheets anymore. There's no such, like, people don't buy wrestling magazines anymore. You don't buy the Observer to find out what's happening. You just click on Google real quick and, you know.
Well, you asked me to rewatch something recently from, like, let's say 2001, 2002, right? And Triple H was involved, and I believe they called him the cerebral assassin at that point in time. So let's talk about this man being just that 20-something years later. That's pretty wild.
I mean, he's definitely, I mean, are we going to say that he's not smart? He was always smart in the business.
100%.
I think he is the perfect wrestling mind to take this over. And I think that's part of the problem with AEW trying to catch up now, is you went from Vince, who might have aged out a little bit. Kind of the way I always put, I think I said it last week, Vince kind of became the Al Davis of pro wrestling. He was a little bit too old. He kind of let the game pass him by a little bit. Well, Triple H, the game hasn't passed him by. Clearly, they're putting on a great product. They're giving us, at least for the most part, what we want, which is just a good product that we can believe that we want to watch. I don't know about you guys. That's kind of all I need in the world, is just don't insult my intelligence. Don't put out a show that is completely geared to children. Let it be, let us believe that this is an athletic form of competition, that these guys are actually struggling with what they're doing. And I think that's what's coming into this. I think all of our, I think all of the predictions that we have, like you said, Michael, I think there's not a chance that one of these guys that's coming out of this that we'd be disappointed about. But at the same, or overly disappointed at least. And it wouldn't be a complete surprise. So with that said, let's move on to the women's Elimination Chamber. We have Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair versus Liv Morgan versus Tiffany Stratton versus Naomi versus Raquel Rodriguez. This time I'm going to switch it up. Mr. Wright, who do you think we get on this one?
So this match annoys the hell out of me right now, because talk about killing the heat. Of 6 people at once at Raw this week, they had Nia come out. First they had the 6 competitors come out, talking up this match now that they knew who the 6 were. Do you guys dig my hat? Once you watch the episode, you'll get that joke. So with this segment, the segment was fine. Everyone kind of coming out, puffing out their chest, telling them that they're going to be the one that wins this. And then they had Nia come out and absolutely waylaced everybody. They took out 6 people at once, and talk about deflating the Elimination Chamber. Like, who cares about any of these people now that the number 1 contender for Rhea's title just came out and beat 6 people single-handedly? I get it if you want to build her up to go against Rhea, who you've been building up forever at this point in time, who seems unbeatable. but you just ruined the main spectacle of your next match. If you're going to run a pay-per-view that only has 4 matches and 2 of them being long Elimination Chamber matches, like talk about taking the air out of the room. Sorry, not to be overly negative. I'll actually get to the actual question here, but I thought that was Bush League, and really like have her come out and kind of waste people, then have all 6 of them take her down would have been cool. Like, just figure out a way to balance that.
Just out of curiosity, Showtime, do you think this might have something to do with the fact that she was on that 70-person family tree?
Yeah, obviously. Like, I mean, nepotism running wild. Like, what can you do?
More than Hulkamania.
Running wild, brother.
So for the actual prediction of the match, I think that you're going to see Bianca Belair have a really strong showing in this match. I think the whole time you're going to think that she's going to be the one that wins. But then at the end of the day, I think Becky Lynch is going to be the one that's victorious. I actually think she starts the match. And, the man shows who she really is. So I think that really what you're going to end up seeing there. I think Liv Morgan is somebody that you keep an eye on as well. I think I could very much see her. She's been making like strides left and right. She's getting way better on the mic. There's a lot of fanfare around her. I don't think she wins. I think you get Becky Lynch over Bianca Belair.
All right. Very cool. Very cool. Escarps Esquire, what we got on this one?
Oh, dude, my answer for this one is simple, and it's only because of heritage on this, and half of it anyway. I got to go with Irish pride right here. We got to go Becky Lynch all day, okay? How do you not do that? We got St. Patrick's Day coming up in March, okay? That's all I'm going to say. That's my take on that one. That's my choice, and I hope I'm right, okay?
So what you're saying is...
I've never heard anything so scientific before.
Yeah, listen, I break it down for the listeners, so stay tuned.
I know he's got the analytics over there. We're going to see it later. We'll post it on our Instagram, maybe.
I'm actually crunching numbers as we speak, guys. It's in my head.
It's going to be a crudely drawn pie chart on a beverage napkin. I know.
It's actually going to be a pie, so it's cool.
Is it Perfect. Like the foam art on the top of a Guinness being like,
yes.
Becky?
Yes. It's just the B, though, because that's all I can draw on the top of a Guinness.
All right. I do think Becky is going to win this. I like the idea of Becky over Bianca. I like the idea of Bianca having a strong showing. So I'm going to give you this one for you, Mr. Showtime, because how you said it. What if they both started out and they both finished? They both basically went coast to coast.
I think that just kills everybody else. I just don't think it makes sense at the end of the day. Like, it doesn't need to be the person who starts versus the person that comes in last. Like, that doesn't have to be the formula every time. But I just think that if you have the 2 people who start, finish it, it just, again, like lessens the other people in this match. Like, they just did. So sure, that's definitely going to happen. But at the end of the day, like, I would like to see some of these people get some heat in this match to build towards the next thing, where I don't think the men's match needs it as much. And I think it's easier to be done to like let people have their showing and then go on to bigger things at Mania or different things at Mania. If you have Becky and Bianca go the distance, you just nerf everybody. And I don't want to see that, at least.
So I know you guys haven't watched NXT nearly as much as I have. I still watch NXT pretty regularly. So you haven't gotten to see Tiffany Stratton much because she's only been on the main roster for literally a few weeks now at this point.
Did you say Trish Stratus?
She there's a good chance she's going to be the new Trish Stratus at this point.
I was about to say don't tease me, but you can tease me with that. That's fine.
Yeah. So I think we'll see a big Jeff Hardy style spot off of Tiffany Stratton. Like, she'll do a swanton off the top of one of the chambers. For anyone who doesn't know her background, she was a nationally ranked like D1 gymnast, like elite level gymnast. That's how they got her, and she just happens to have kind of soaked in the business and gotten the character aspect of it. I think
you were a gymnast.
You missed. Thank you. I could see, especially with Raquel Rodriguez being in there, I could see her and Bianca having a real test of strength type situation. Maybe an actual test of strength in the middle of the ring, something where they're going to go at it. I do think, like I said, I think it's Becky. I think it's Becky all day. I think Liv might not make as much impact as we've mentioned she could. I think after she kind of got in trouble a little bit, they're still a little hesitant on really pushing her to the moon like they were. Just WWE in general. Once you get arrested, it gets a little murky in those waters. But who knows if there was no issues found of it or everything was dismissed, they might just wipe their hands clean of the arrest and say, okay, back to business as usual. I could see if Becky doesn't start, I could see Liv starting and kind of going a distance, or vice versa. One way or another, I think whoever starts the women's is probably going to end the women's, unfortunately. And it's going to, and I think just the Elimination Chamber at this point, having a female Elimination Chamber, I don't think we need it. I think it adds an extra, like you said, 40-minute match for the sake of that. We could have done this with something else. It didn't have to be another chamber match. We didn't have to have a wait time for all these people to come in. We could have just done a scramble and saved a bunch of time and add an extra match on there that would have piqued our interest a little bit more. I think this match, by putting one on and then putting another one on, it puts a hat on a hat. I think we're going to see a lot of the match, a lot of the moves. Whichever one comes first, we're going to see it in the first match, and then we're going to unfortunately see it in the second match.
Well, I've got a question for you guys, and because I honestly don't know. Has there been a female Elimination Chamber match before?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they
once they refresh me if you could.
So I think they're on Elimination Chamber number 3 or 4 for the women. Okay. I mean, obviously there have been a lot more for the men. Once they kind of started doing the women's evolution or revolution or whatever they're calling it, at this point, and really focusing on the fact that these women are great athletes. I'm not taking that away from them. I'm not saying that there's not a time for these women to shine. My thing is, we don't need the women's version of every men's match. I almost don't even need a women's Royal Rumble necessarily. I think a lot of times when you throw them in there because they don't get the amount of reps that the men get, it gets a little murky in those women's Royal Rumble sometimes. It seems like there's a lot of rushing, a lot of pushing around, a lot of just trying to be ready to take a spot when it's not set up properly, and it just looks looks jerky. And I feel like the Elimination Chamber is the same type of situation. Now, you want to give me a for actual Survivor Series, you want to give me a female classic Survivor Series match? Yeah, do it. You want to, it takes away from the match that we're tuning in for by giving us another version of the match that we're tuning in for.
I like that the women get kind of get the same treatment as the men. I think it's awesome to really showcase them. I like the women's Rumble. I like the fact that they're getting an Elimination Chamber, but it needs to be at the same level as the other product. I was not impressed by this year's women's Rumble. It just was a kind of like a spot party. It kind of gave everybody their quick second while everyone laid around the ring. And I don't think it was done well. Not necessarily just to women's discredit, but like all the people who are orchestrating this stuff. And that was what makes me fearful on the Elimination Chamber. Come out, put together a quality match, have it go over really well, and then have the men do something different. Like figure out what the difference between the two of them needs to be, and then it doesn't seem like the same match twice, or like the diet version of the main event. So I want this to be awesome. I want the Women's Rumble to be awesome. I just haven't seen it from at least this year. Looking at this year's Rumble, it wasn't as good as the Men's Rumble. So I'm all for it. I just want to see the best product possible.
I think we can all agree on that. I mean, that's what we want as fans, right? You want to be entertained. You want it to be at certain points over the top, but you want it to have overall, it's got to be tight, so to speak, right? And so
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. If they can do it well, awesome, because these women are just as, if not more athletic than some of the men that we see wrestle.
Well, and that's kind of where I'm at. And I'm not taking that away from them. I don't want to seem like the sexist pick on this one.
No,
because
of course not.
That's not where my point is.
Shame.
Boo this man.
Shame.
Shut up, Graybeard.
It's so sexy.
Silver Fox, okay, buddy?
My thing is if you put both those matches in, and kind of to your point, Mike, when both those matches are in, and you said you want to see something different with both those matches, well, they're not conversing. They're not finding out what they did in that first match, so they don't do it in the second match. That's the key point, and I do agree with you on that one. So I don't like. While I'm saying this, it goes along with. So the other problem is if they go and do something, let's say for sake of argument, they hit a move, they do something, it's something huge, it's something where for sake of argument they go through a table. I know there's no tables in this, but they do that in that match, in the men's match, and then they immediately pin the guy and they win. They get the win off of it. It almost lessens what is happening in the second one if they do it earlier in the show. So let's say Liv Morgan, a 105-pound girl, and they don't win. If you superplex someone off the top of the Elimination Chamber and you don't win, but then they do it on the men, you're trying to now, like, you just ruined the heat in the later match. And I think
that's necessarily true. I think that, like, you can have, like, that actually almost feels like the right way to go about it, right? Have something that puts somebody down in the first match, and in the second match, do the same thing that they kick out, or vice versa.
See,
like,
I think
that's how you kind of keep it fresh.
See, I think it needs to be the opposite way. I think it needs to be that if it happens in the first match, that they kick out of it in the second match, in the sense that they're
as long as it's the opposite, right?
Either way, different result. Yes.
And the problem is, but like it's one of those things where because these matches are going to be train wrecks, it's going to be car crashes.
It's going to be so long, and I'm not complaining about it, but like it's going to be 2 back-to-back 40-minute matches.
Yeah, because we're going to have to wait for everyone to get in the ring, and to get out of their pods.
Listen, maybe they do something crazy and they pin somebody within the first 5 minutes. Unlikely, but maybe.
I actually I wouldn't mind seeing that if that ended up being what happened. If all of a sudden, especially in the women's one, all of a sudden, like, whoever starts with, let's say Becky, like you said, Mike, if Becky starts and Becky immediately just pins Tiffany Stratton, or like something like that, or like Tiffany hot starts her, and then like after when she goes for the move, we only get like 2 minutes out of that match rather than like the 5 that we're supposed to. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that. I wouldn't mind seeing that type of situation.
That's Bianca's spot. That's when Bianca starts it and pins somebody quickly, because like they're pushing her hard right now. Though I don't think she wins this match. But at the same time, like, that's her going in there, pinning somebody, and waits for the next door to open. Like that, and you know what? I love that. That starts it off so differently than the other one would start off. Because I don't think a single person in that first match will get a squash like that. I don't think there's any way that happens.
And that'll get the whole crowd will be on their feet after that too. So absolutely, jump up.
Yeah, absolutely. This is gonna be the last thing I really add about this match is I'm actually kind of happy that Jade Cargill isn't in this match. I think she's a star. I think the best way to present her, though, is in a situation where you can really let that star shine. And I don't think that her first actual match, not a battle royal, in WWE should be the Elimination Chamber. I think you're just asking to shine a spotlight on whatever her weaknesses are at that point. And I'm happy that they can build this where they can build her and Bianca going to Mania, or her and whoever going to Mania. Let Mania be her first real match. Let her be a star that showed up at the Women's Royal Rumble. Let her be a star that now came in at Mania, and then move on from Mania and let that be the start of her, what she really does at this point. I think they made the right decision on this one as far as that goes. Next up, we have the Women's World Championship match. The only Women's World Championship match that is on this one. It is going to be Rhea Ripley versus The Rock's cousin. I mean, Nia Jax. I mean, The Rock's cousin. I mean, Rhea's got to win this, right? Like,
I think this is what goes into my tangent from before. I don't see a world where Rhea doesn't win this. And so having Nia come out and just squashing everyone in the Elimination Chamber, like that's been the worst thing that's happened to the Elimination Chamber. Like, forget about if it's the exact same match, move for move, as the men's. The fact that Nia came out, squashed everybody, and then we're supposed to care about this match over the world title match, and it just makes it worse. Where when Rhea ultimately wins this match, it just makes everybody look all the worse. I get that you want to build up Nia in order to get Rhea to have somebody that seems like they're on the same level, because they've been doing so much work to build up Rhea here. But I think it really just thumbs its eye at the Elimination Chamber match.
I mean, how do you gas her up so much, though? How do you gas up Jax so much? Which is why I picked Nia. Okay, she just decimated 6 other people. I mean, like they were nothing. And now I have a choice. Like, who do I pick? In this scenario, I feel like she's got all the steam pushing her toward that finish line, right? For this match. If she doesn't win, there's going to be a hell of a story, however it plays out. But I just don't understand how, with that momentum going into it, she doesn't take this W.
Hell of a board meeting's going to happen afterwards.
Yeah.
Here's my only thing. I don't know, because I've seen women that have had the Nia Jax style push, the monster, they're the bigger women. Don't get me wrong, Rhea has a very similar push to this. That's why putting the bulls together it doesn't always work, but it works a lot of the time if you know how to work the match properly. If they do this right, it could absolutely work. My problem is Nia has kind of proven to me that it doesn't usually work. She's a bigger girl. She's a big Samoan girl. You can play off all of that she's a monster. The problem is she doesn't display monster strength when she tries. So it again, we always go back to suspension of disbelief. Well, if you're supposed to be the one that's gorilla pressing, or for you, Mr. Scarps, Arnold pressing a young lady above your head,
thank you for that.
You can't get them over your head, it kills your gimmick that you're this big brute of a force.
That's fair.
And I've said this about other women that have been in this in this position. I've said it about a couple others in the last couple of years that we've seen it. It's great when you throw the 6'1", the 6'2" bodybuilder looking chick, or if they're just believable to be the monster, the force, the Rhea Ripleys of the world. But then it's great because you give them the Liv Morgans, and you give them the Alexa Blisses, the smaller girls, and they toss them like a rag dog all over the place. But then you give them a normal sized woman, not overly big, I'm not saying you give them Nia Jax or you give them Rhea Ripley back and forth, but you give them just an average 5'5", 5'6" woman who weighs an average amount of weight and has a normal body type. And you realize that they can't move them the same way. So all of a sudden, this illusion of strength is gone, and you've effectively killed what they've done. And I think
then Nia needs to hit some of that family tree, and maybe do a little weight training. You feel me?
So I've also heard that at some point in Nia Jax's life, she was in a very bad car accident. I'm not saying that that's good or bad, but also maybe this should have been taken to an equation. They want her to be this force, and unfortunately, what I want to see from her is a little bit more smoothness and a little bit more athleticism, and I don't see it. I don't see the Samoan athleticism. I don't see the huge wrestler that somehow moves around the ring so well. I don't see the Yokozuna. I don't see the Rikishi. I don't see, and again, I'm using the bigger versions of these people. I don't see the Rosie and the Jamals. I don't see that. I see her moving slowly. I see her gingerly hitting a bonsai drop. It doesn't feel right. And like I said, I'm not saying that they won't put the title on her. I'm saying they shouldn't put the title on her.
I'm saying they won't put the title on her. I get what you're saying, Scarps. I agree. It makes sense if she's going to come out here and just nerf 6 women in the ring at once because she's got strength beyond strength or something like that. But at the end of the day,
Eric,
but at the end of the day, having Rhea she's by far better than the best woman on the roster. She has shown she has the talent. She has the strength. She has all the things that you're kind of saying, Steven, that maybe Nia doesn't. I think we will end up getting a good match out of this, which is all I really care about. And I would like to see an actual good match coming out of this. But at the end of the day, I just don't see how Rhea doesn't win this.
Yeah. And again, we're all the reason why we're giving our opinion is because it's all our opinions. All right, last match that we have on here, the Undisputed Tag Team Championships. We have the Judgment Day with Damian Priest, my boy, Finn Balor, one of my old school favorites, against you have it written as British Strong Style. I believe they just changed their name to New Catch Republic because, whatever, of Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. So I'm going to ask my first question out of this. I'm pointing to you, Scarps. You know who Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne are?
Oh, I love the fact that you just pointed to me because I can confidently say no.
I think that answers the question on who is going to take this title. First of all, Pete,
go ahead.
Yeah. So Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate are really good wrestlers who have not been presented as much of anything, even in the recent shows. And like how the mighty have fallen, the tag team titles were in the main event of WrestleMania last year. We're 10 months removed from that, and they're being toiled between a Judgment Day that has fallen off a bit and a lower mid-card tag team that my casual fan doesn't know who they are.
Yeah. So for everybody listening right now, and for you guys, since we're friends, the only thing I have to say with my prediction for this match is, come with me if you want to live. Because why would you not go? Terminator 2, right? Judgment Day.
Judgment Day.
Because that's all I know right now.
This match doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. I don't understand why DX isn't in this thing, as R-Truth would call them. I
love how much of a truth mark you are currently.
I'll get into that in a minute, please, because he's the best thing on TV. He is the funniest human being in WWE. At Raw this week, it was The Miz, Truth, and DIY versus Judgment Day. Like, that's the match you have going into Elimination Chamber. Like, why wasn't it Dunne and Bate in that match. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me on the way you book it. It like, I don't know. Like, no matter what happens, I think that Judgment Day for the tag team titles is going to be Miz and Truth at Mania. Like, that's what they've been building up. They've been building up this R-Truth angle, and I'm all for it. And I really hope R-Truth and the Miz win, because I will root for R-Truth no matter what at this point in time. And so, but like, it just seems flat. Like, Dunn and Bate beat DIY, and then DIY still comes out. Like, tease this match out a little bit for me. But I just don't think they did that. So, so again, I'm with you on Judgment Day. This is just going through the motions. I think they're going to end up making Judgment Day look really strong. And that's probably why I'm going to answer my own question here. The reason why you put Dunn and Bate in here is because I think they're going to have Judgment Day squash them. I think it's going to be a quick match. I think they're going to just take them down. I was kind of surprised because in the 8-man tag match that they had on Raw, they actually gave DIY a lot of heat in that match. Like, those guys they looked pretty good against the Judgment Day, and they were the ones that kind of lost the number one contendership match against Dunn and Bate.
Dunn, yeah.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, like, I think that it's almost like they're going to serve these guys up to Judgment Day in order to make Judgment Day look stronger going in against Truth and the Miz at Mania.
So I'm gonna add on to this just to ask you a question, like you're holding the pencil, Mr. Wright. You want Truth and Miz to win at Mania? I'm actually for it. Like, if we're going to be building to this, let's have the payoff. If Judgment Day loses the tag titles, do you have Priest immediately cash in the briefcase?
No, like, you can't. Like, unless it's against Rollins, which I don't think it will be. But like, I don't think you can do that. Like, unless you want to put Cody over even more. And like, we'll get into Mania predictions and stuff like that, because I'm actually kind of starting to think that Cody doesn't win this match. I know, like, I kind of said it last time. Like, I don't know. Like, there's just enough here. Like, I think too many people want him to win. They're saying it. You got to do something. Like, we're talking about all these people. Like, the way we talk about Mania, what Mania is going to be, is so predictable. It's what we all want. And if everything happens the way we want it to, everyone's gonna be like, oh yeah, Mania was great. I got everything I wanted, but it fell a little flat. And I remember last year watching Mania with you, and us complaining on how Cody lost, and we were pissed about it. And I could just see it happening again. That's not my prediction. I'm not putting that on the record at this moment in time.
Yeah. Can you not put that? I'm literally wearing a Cody Rhodes shirt right now. I mean, can you not put that in the world right now?
That's on you. You're the jinx here. If you weren't wearing that shirt, he would definitely win.
I mean, that actually makes sense. But
you owe him an apology.
I mean, it does suck to be Steve.
So I don't think
I
that's
disagree, sir. It does not suck to be Steve. I just wanted to make that clear. That's what I meant by that. Sorry. Sorry to interrupt.
Please elaborate. So that's just kind of the way I look at it. Like, there is a lot of, like, this. You guys got to go back and watch Raw from this week. I know it was just yesterday, and everyone's busy right now, but there was that was a really good go home show this week. You had Cody losing to McIntyre with shenanigans. It made McIntyre look really good. Cody looked really good. There's a lot of really good matches in that. The R-Truth segment was absolutely hilarious. Anyone listening that hasn't seen that, you have to go and watch it, listen to it. The baby pictures of the Judgment Day with R-Truth, the origins of the meeting was absolutely amazing. The comments around Genuine and John Cena and jean shorts, it was just so funny, and I am in complete love with R-Truth at this point in time. Like, I actually want to see at Mania him miss the tag team match where Miz has to go out there in a handicap match, and he shows up in the main event thinking that's where he's supposed to be, and he wins the title. That's where I'm at this point in time, and which would be so much funnier than what we'll actually get. And I know we'll never get that, but I think that's just fucking funny.
So to get, I'm just gonna write this how you want it now. I'm holding the pencil for you here, Mr. Showtime. What if Damian Priest can't find the briefcase because Truth magically just stumbled upon it and was like, oh, I'll have to give this back to him, and cashes it in at Mania.
He just has to rip the senior tape off, and he's good. He's good to go.
Well, what if the whole time he's been playing that, he keeps seeing, he keeps mistaking people anyway. Like, he thought Kevin Owens was the Miz, and he went out and helped him. Like, what if he hands the briefcase to the ref, like, here you go, Damian, and all of a sudden he's in the match.
Well, he was in the Rumble, and he thought it was the Money in the Bank match. He went up the ladder and went to go grab the thing, and it wasn't there. But apparently, Kane was confused too. Like he's done this stuff time and time again. I think that's funny. It's never going to happen, but I'm all in on the point of that whole thing was I'm all in on R-Truth. I think they should give him a title run. Obviously not the next title run, but I would love to see him stumble into that, and because I think he'd be a great champion.
I could see that. I mean, at least something. Maybe have some reason why he fused with Gunther for the IC title or something. Yeah, because
I think they nerfed Uso in the title match that they had this week too.
Yeah, that's gone. That's gone. It's gonna be Uso.
It's gonna be Uso. Like, it looked. Well, that's another thing with the fake news, right? Everyone was talking about, the people in the back were talking about that the title was going to switch hands, and you're going to have Uso for the IC title at Mania, and then that didn't go down. I think that's part of the fake news that they're seeding out there right now to kind of give you that swerve. Though that match, I don't think that Uso looked really all that strong until the very end of the match, where he had 5 consecutive spears because I couldn't think of another move to throw into the splash. And even him kind of going over at that moment in time and ringing the bell, the ref should have just awarded the match because he was going to do the three count at that moment in time anyway. I don't know. I like that match was actually a lot of fun to watch, but in retrospect, I actually hated it at the end of the day because of the end. More shenanigans from the Bloodline.
Shenanigans.
Yeah, it's just all over the place. Like, they started and ended the show with shenanigans.
Shenanigans.
Shenanigans. Next person said shenanigans, I'm gonna pistol whip.
Scarps, what's that place you like to eat with the mozzarella sticks and all the goofy crap on the wall?
Oh, you mean shenanigans?
Oh.
So it was just it was, you did it too much in the rest of do less. You can't just keep using the same thing over and over. And I get why they did it.
Fair.
It was right with the Cody match, right? But that point of them coming out and screwing him in that match with McIntyre was reminding you what happened at Mania last year. It was exactly what happened at Mania, right? And so now they're shoving that in your face, to give you more of that, you need a shield to set up him and Seth being partners, which I am convinced that Seth is going to double cross, but whatever.
A shield.
So that's I think they're going to throw every single thing at Cody in order to make him winning the title as hard as humanly possible. And if they keep doing that, I do think that he'll end up winning it just over all odds. But that's kind of where I see that storyline going, and I think they're going to throw every line man at him as possible.
I mean, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Rollins or Sammy turns on him. Real quick, we're just going to touch on it because I'm sure everyone else in the world has talked about it. The Rock officially saying that he joined the the Bloodline.
No, that'd be a swerve.
Yeah,
that would be a swerve.
get your promo straight, kid. But The Rock officially joining the Bloodline. I just want to point out a few little things here. We said it during about the kickoff. There was such a complete look at Roman taking the backseat to him. Roman came out, the rest of the bloodline came out with him. Paul Heyman came out with Roman. They all came out together. The Rock gets his own thing. And don't get me wrong, I think The Rock should get his own thing.
100%.
There's an instruction to it.
Yeah. But if almost would have been better if they were like The Rock with the bloodline. And I'm not saying that. I think it that's basically what they're leading to is just it's The Rock and the bloodline. And he's not going to come out to their music, which just proves that you're the bigger guy.
He's back, boys. He's back.
And it pulls away from Roman a little bit. Which I'm not saying that's wrong. It's just what's going to happen. But even once they started talking, the only one that started talking at that point was The Rock. Heyman didn't even talk. They just let The Rock go and do his thing. And don't get me wrong, I think Roman does a really good job with facial expressions and things like that effect to sell what is going on, because it's not just the words that are being said, it's the reaction that you get from Roman and especially from Heyman. Heyman is the guy right now. I think he actually makes the bloodline maybe even more than the other guys do. But I love the Rock combining his original heel gimmick with kind of the Hollywood Rock gimmick. I know me and Showtime have spoken about this. I like the fact that he said all that stuff about you have to work your way back. You don't just get handed it, because basically everything he said is what Cody had done.
It doesn't matter what Cody has done.
Yes, you're right. Everything that Rock said is what Cody has done. Except for he left out the fact that he won the Rumble 2 years in a row.
Ooh.
And is the number one contender because he gets to choose, because that's what happens when you win the Rumble. The Rock could join the Rumble and then won that and then faced off against Roman at Mania. Like, that easily done. And like, no one complains about the Rock surprise entry into the Rumble, wins the Rumble, and it's him and Roman. Like, everyone's a little upset about that, but
everybody's still kind of on board.
But then Cody butting into this match is exactly what The Rock said. But the Niners going back to the drawing board to try to win the Super Bowl next year is what Cody did.
Yeah,
he hasn't pushed for a rematch except for that right after Mania last year, and he won the Royal Rumble. That's what you get. You get to choose who to face once you win the Royal Rumble. That's the stipulation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was so cool though, man. Just seeing The Rock come back out and me sitting here in like a 40-year-old's body watching this with the mentality of a 15-year-old. I'm like, oh, he's back, bro. Like, he's back. He's bad. This is The Rock that I remember from like the Attitude Era. And I'm just like, this is dope, bro. This is fun to watch.
Well, he went from fairly reasonable to maniacal overlord real quick.
Quick.
He came in like hugging Cody, having his way with everything.
Pointing out the goosebumps.
Exactly. To saying everyone in Utah is a bunch of morons.
Yeah.
He went like full on heel. No, you don't get to repeat what The Rock says. There's no chorus right now. Like that was a faster. And I get it. He's upset that they caused him not to have his WrestleMania moment with his cousin. But at the same time, that escalated quickly.
Listen, to paraphrase here, you never go full heel.
That's a movie quote I'm not going to repeat on there. So.
No.
Yeah. So the only prediction I'm going to make, and it's a what if scenario, was if The Rock did what you said he could have done, and that's enter the Rumble, we would have had two either near 50 or over 50-year-old men with torn ligaments of some sort, some shape or form, because CM Punk would have torn his tricep and The Rock would absolutely have torn something else, whether it be his quad.
You put The Rock in last enter, he goes in, clears the ring. Like, he could have walked away from that.
And he's still a physical specimen, man. I understand that he is. Look, I couldn't do it right now. You put me in the ring, I'm not less than 45 seconds. I'm dead, okay? but he's still making an impact. He's The Rock. I mean, hands down.
I think I honestly think that his next match he gets injured. I really believe it. I think he's 50 something years old. He hasn't wrestled a match in over 10 years now. The last match he had was against Cena and he tore his abdomen. I think he gets injured. I think if anything is going to derail him and Roman, it's going to be that.
I'll take that bet. He definitely does not get hurt in his next match. That'll be. I'll bet you on that, Steve.
He's peak. He's still at peak fitness, dude. I find it very unlikely.
I'm a gambling man.
To God, he doesn't. Okay.
So I would like to bet Mr. Showtime Michael Wright on the air right now. $1 American and possible.
Dude, I can't shake.
May I ask, gentlemen, am I allowed to hop in on the bet?
Yes.
So if The Rock doesn't get injured, does that then afford me the opportunity to pour baby powder on my hand and open face slap you?
No.
On camera.
I'm out.
Yeah, I'm not in this one.
I was gonna say, Steve, because if The Rock does get injured, you could do that to me.
But while we're in North Carolina, maybe we can find somewhere that you can get me some wampum, and you can pay me with that. I want a difficult pay off of you.
Oh, okay. I'll tell you what, man. We will absolutely think about this, and we will find a fair and ridiculous bet to make for.
All right, guys.
Absolutely.
I think it's time to go into the last segment of the program. This is all Mr. Esquire's. We are naming this one Esquire's Inquiries. If I had a little song, it would probably sound like what would you do? But it'd be like, what? The scarf want, something like that.
See, I was thinking like Michael Hagen's Daybreak, like.
I can see that.
Yeah, a little smooth jazz.
Possibly like the Jeopardy music. I don't know. Maybe along those lines.
Well, I'll tell you. So
I'm going to refrain from singing in this one. I'll leave it to you guys.
So, well, let's just do I don't know, a general topic, but in the fact that we've started this podcast as fans. Me being a casual fan, Michael Wright being a historian fan and one that has worked in the business. And then, of course, we have Icefire Steve Zaff, right, who has worked in the business. So I guess my question to you guys is, and this stems back to early childhood, boys, so get your thinking caps on. What moment, event, or superstar really solidified your fandom into wrestling? Like, what made you guys go, oh my goodness, this is so cool. I love it. I'm a fan for life. Whether it be a moment, an event, a superstar, get as specific or non as you'd like.
So, Steven, you've been asking a lot of questions today. So why don't you start answering one here?
Me?
I like it.
So I don't know if there was one moment that made me. I just always remember wrestling being there. I remember watching wrestling with my dad. I remember watching, again, the precursor to Monday Night Raw being Monday Night Primetime Wrestling on USA. I always remember that. If we're going to say the one time that I could definitely say I was solidified as a fan, like I was never going to leave, I would say it's my favorite event. We will review it when the season is right. SummerSlam 1991. SummerSlam 1991, as far as I'm concerned, is the most complete up and down card I've ever heard in my life, I've ever watched. You have legends on it. You have spectacle. You have intense wrestling matches that I, at a young lad of 9 years old, had not seen at that point. And you get a little bit of everything. You even get some comedy in there. You got some bushwhackers in there. You get some no disqualification matches. So you get some of the gimmicks. I've got everything up and down there, from Ricky Steamboat to Hulk Hogan to Bret Hart to Mr. Perfect. There's nothing wrong with that show as far as I'm concerned. And that didn't just cement me as a fan, but it's kind of what probably set me on the track of wanting to get into the business.
That's incredible, bro. And that's a complete card when you think about it. Like me hearing that, as I was 7 when that when that happened, right? That's an absolutely complete card that you're talking about.
Like I said, when we do reviews later, when we review something for SummerSlam, that'll probably be the one that I push for at least this year. And
Nice.
then I'll bring it up every time that I have an opportunity to tell anyone to why they should watch wrestling. It'll be SummerSlam 91.
Shameless plug. Just watch it. I love
Just
it.
watch it.
So from my side of things, I actually attended WrestleMania 1 and 2. I was 3 and 4 years old, I think, or 2 and 3 years old. So really took it all in. So it's always kind of been there. My grandfather was a really big fan of it. I was sending Steve not too long ago pictures of a random show, being like, "Who is this?" Because I had found a bunch of pictures of my grandparents that they were actually at a WrestleMania, not a WrestleMania, at a wrestling event, just random one. I had no idea that grandfather was even into wrestling, or actually, my grandmother's probably the one that did that there. But the one on my dad's side, he was so into it. So I've always kind of been there. And as a kid, I had my little pillow person wrestling with. I always had the dream to be a professional wrestler. And when Steve decided that he wanted to do it, I was like, well, I'm in, because I always wanted to before. It's not something I wanted to make a career of long term. Getting my ass kicked 365 days a year wasn't all that appealing at the time. But it's still, for the time that I did it, was absolutely awesome. And I did still get my ass kicked. So that's kind of where, so it's always kind of been there. It does also help that, being friends with Steve, who's been so passionate the entire time that I've known, he brought me right back into it when we were in high school. So that's kind of my story with it. But being able to say I went to WrestleMania 1 and 2 is, it's just always been there.
Yeah, dude, there are not a lot of people that I know that can say that. You know what I mean? Like, hey, by the way, I was at WrestleMania 1 and 2. I wasn't. I was born in '84, but I wasn't there. That's amazing, dude. That's super cool.
Yeah.
And the Pillow Pals, like, come on, dude. I had Hulk Hogan, I had Macho Man, I had Ultimate Warrior, and I absolutely beat the crap out of those things. And it was amazing.
Just to show my historical accuracy on this one, he technically had the Macho King.
Oh, fair enough.
Okay, well, thank you. And again, here I am, just regular Steve, not super Steve over there. So thank you, sir.
But no,
I don't know, dude,
so for you, where's it at, man?
Oh, see, okay. So like you guys know, man, Steve especially, you know that I am a huge Hulkamaniac, right? I absolutely love Hulk Hogan. I always have, ever since I was a kid, man. Having said that, I think that helped me, like, just Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage, Andre the Giant, these guys helped pave the way for, me still watching, like, HBK, right? Watching Bret the Hitman Hart, watching all these guys. But I think for me, like, what really made me love the WWF or WWE now, wrestling in general, was the Attitude Era. For me, I was coming into my teens, you know what I mean? I was coming into my teenage years, and it was just badassery all over the television. These were guys that didn't care, that whooped ass and had, they were like anti-establishment wrestlers. And like, as a young boy going into like early teenhood, I was like, man, these guys are larger than life, man. This is cool. So that like re-sparked my interest. And then to see Stone Cold and just all these things, man, D-Generation X doing it, like, I was like, let's keep going, let's keep. And then, I fell off for a little while. So I'm actually just really excited that we get to talk about this stuff now. And I get to, fall in love again with what I grew up loving. It's really cool.
Awesome. Well, with that said, I think we've said all we can say this week. Guys, it has been a pleasure, just as it always is. We will delve just as deep, if not deeper, into the world of pro wrestling next week. In the description will be all of our communication ways, our email addresses, our Instagram accounts, our Twitter/X's, whatever you want to call it. It's all going to be on there. Guys, thank you. Appreciate you being here. And fans, thank you for listening. Have a good one.
Thanks,
Toodles,
everyone.
y'all.